When Uncharted 4 released back in 2016, it immediately jumped to the top of the pack as one of the most impressive console games ever released. With its incredibly detailed visuals, a stable frame rate, and unbelievably complex set pieces, it still manages to hold up brilliantly today. There just aren't a lot of games out there delivering this kind of visual experience. Uncharted 4 is also one of the first games to have received support for the PlayStation 4 Pro, with an increase in resolution in both the single and multiplayer modes of the game, on top of HDR support for all PlayStation 4 consoles. Now, just roughly 1 year later, we have Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which is more of a follow-up to Uncharted 4 than a simple add-on pack as you might have expected. It's shaping up to be a rather large game. The first question for us though is pretty simple. How does The Lost Legacy take advantage of the PlayStation 4 Pro? Well, for one, this new footage here, released by Sony, was captured on the PS4 Pro, but the video itself was unfortunately encoded at 1080p. Thankfully, Eurogamer's own Martin Robinson had an opportunity to pose this very question directly to Naughty Dog. And the answer? Well, the Pro implementation in The Lost Legacy is identical to that of Uncharted 4. Yep, that means the game still renders at 2560 by 1440, or 1440p. Perhaps not entirely unexpected, but slightly disappointing nonetheless. Let's be realistic here though, this is a smaller project for Naughty Dog than usual. While the team size has certainly grown throughout its development, there's little doubt that the turnaround for this one has been rather impressive considering that it's only really been in development for a year. Of course, as a side effect of its compressed development schedule, the core visual features on display remain very much the same as we saw in Uncharted 4 last year, which really is not a bad thing. We still see the same high quality texture work here, along with very detailed models. The animation remains just as fluid as ever, and the lighting is of course top notch. I especially love the light shafts poking through the trees in this scene, it just looks great. The flowing water and blowing grass are also fully interactive just as before.
Maybe.
And of course, the cinematic physics remain just as impressive as before. Even 1 year later, there's little doubt that the technology behind Uncharted 4 really hasn't aged. Another interesting element that can be gleaned from this footage is the introduction of yet another wide linear area, this time set in India. Now, Naughty Dog has confirmed that this is the only open area in the game, of course, but the size and scope of everything seems to have been increased even beyond the similarly wide linear areas featured in Uncharted 4. Not only is India larger itself in terms of scope, but the level of detail on display represents a significant jump forward. India is packed with dense foliage, colorful blowing trees, and richly detailed stonework around every corner. The combination of the two is very effective here and definitely allows it to feel like a significant upgrade over the area in Uncharted 4. Now, with the studio furthering its work on wide linear game design, it certainly seems to us that The Last of Us 2 will benefit from this experience. Freedom within a linear framework can allow for an open-ended experience without sacrificing the level of polish you would expect from Naughty Dog. It's the same type of design presented in games like the original Crysis back in 2007, or a number of the different Metal Gear games, though perhaps to a lesser degree there. And really, it's an approach I would love to see appear in more games. Sure, open worlds are all the rage right now, but this often ultimately means a giant empty map with NPC mission dispensers scattered about. Wide linear design, however, still presents the player with a clear end goal, but allows you to approach the game from different angles without being stuck on a completely linear path, while still enjoying the benefits of a linear game. It's a great way to maintain your storyline while still delivering interesting, open-ended gameplay opportunities, and it's great to see Naughty Dog continue to refine its work on this aspect. Now, when asked about other additional improvements to the engine in The Lost Legacy, Martin was simply told that the team is always working to improve their tools, which you'd expect. Now, this is not something that the end user will specifically appreciate while playing the game, but I think it's clear that there is a benefit here for all of us. It seems likely that the experience gained from creating the original Uncharted 4 and the further improvements of its tools has allowed Naughty Dog to produce The Lost Legacy at a pace that we've simply never seen before from the studio. This is a game that is said to be at least as long as the original Uncharted Drake's Fortune, yet the whole thing was produced in a very short period of time. The fact that Naughty Dog could produce such a full-featured game in just over 1 year is incredible, and it shows how effective the development team has become. So yes, there really aren't any new visual features here, but the benefit is that we now have another Uncharted game within that 1 year window. So how about the gameplay itself then? Looking through this footage, the overall play mechanics seem very much the same as Uncharted 4, which, to be honest, you would expect, but there are at least a couple of minor additions here. For one thing, the silenced pistol is now available in single-player mode. Yes, there was a silenced pistol in Uncharted 4, but it was only available for use in the game's multiplayer mode, which means in the campaign you primarily had to focus on taking out enemies by hand if you wanted to eliminate them silently. Firing off any sort of weapon would alert everyone around you. Clearly this is something that has changed in The Lost Legacy, and Chloe is now able to wield a silenced pistol in combat, which allows you to silently take out enemies from afar, rather than being forced to get up close and strangle them out like Nathan Drake did, though of course that's still an option. So yeah, the silenced pistol definitely has the potential to massively change the flow of some of these stealth sequences. We'll be very curious to see how it all plays out in the final game. Oh, but there's another new feature, one that I'm sure everybody is super excited about. The lock-picking minigame. Oh joy, just what we've always wanted. As for the rest of the experience, well, we're just going to have to wait and see, since the game is shipping relatively soon. Based on what we've seen thus far though, the end result should remain just as impressive as Uncharted 4. The big question for us then is whether the production values on the storytelling can match the lofty heights reached by Uncharted 4. Though some might argue that fewer cutscenes might even be an improvement here, but who's to know if that's even the case? We're curious to find out.
Well, let's see how this goes.
But that's all we have for today. Be sure to keep an eye out for our full analysis, which will hit when the game ships in about 1 month. If it's been a while since you've last checked out the game and want to refresh yourself on what kind of technology is powering it, be sure to go back to our original Uncharted 4 analysis, which explores the original game in depth while showcasing all of its awesome visual features. We also did a nice video on the PS4 Pro implementation, which is rather relevant here since The Lost Legacy appears to be taking the exact same approach that we saw in that version of the game. For now though, if you did enjoy this quick little video, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and follow us over on Twitter. And until next time, this is John, signing off.
We're heading to the building! Copy that!